Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amanda and today we are going to be doing a book review for a wonderful ARC that I received not the other day. I've actually had this one for about a week. So I received The Bone Shard Daughter from Orbit on NetGalley and I am going to be reading it. Although the catch is I've actually already started reading this book. I have been pushing off starting this video for the longest time because I just didn't feel like filming. I'm currently in the process of moving, which is why I'm filming in a different location than normal, and I've just not wanted to talk to the camera, honestly. But I am exactly 50% through The Bone Shard Daughter by Andrea Stewart, and I wanted to come and talk to you guys about it a little bit more. This book is an adult epic fantasy in this world where magic is only controlled by the Emperor, and the way that he controls magic is he can build these constructs, which are bits of different animals put together, and then he can take a piece of bone from the humans in his country and put it inside the construct and control them based on different glyphs that he writes onto the constructs. So we are actually not following the Emperor at all. We are following 5 different characters, and I am right now going to tell you about 4 of them. So the very first character that you start out learning about is Lynn, and she is the Emperor's daughter, and she is being trained to become the Emperor after he dies. Now she is, I believe, in her early 20s, and she is not the only one in line to become the Emperor after the Emperor currently dies. He is very old, and he is currently training 2 people for the position. The reason for this is because Lynn has lost all of her memories due to a disease, and he is worried that she won't be able to take on the ability and the responsibility of the throne. Now he also has a foster son named Ban, and he is also being trained to take over the throne in case Lynn doesn't fulfill her side of the training. Now Lynn is really frustrated with everything that she's being put through. She feels like her father shouldn't discourage her ability, shouldn't limit her so much because she's lost her memory. She feels like she's still a whole person even though she doesn't have those memories of her childhood, but her father unfortunately doesn't see it the same way. So she is going through a lot of stuff right now, trying to learn magic in secret, trying to figure out everything about what it is to become an emperor without her father necessarily figuring it out. After that, we follow Jovis, who is a mercenary who got thrown into some unexpected plot that he really wasn't ready for. So his plot before the book begins is that his wife was kidnapped I think it was like 5 years ago, and he is on the run trying to find her. He basically joins up with these mercenaries in order to get a boat and get enough money that he can keep trying to figure more out about his wife and sustain a living while he's looking for her. One day he sees the boat that he believes is the boat that kidnapped her and goes on the run trying to find it. So he has the Emperor's guard trying to track him down because he's doing all these mercenary-y things, and then he has this band of like gangster mercenaries following him down because he stole a boat to try to track down his long-lost wife. So he kind of gets into this weird plot where he ends up doing some mission work for some people who are kind of not friends with either of those people, and he ends up adopting this creature pretty early on who is a very unique specimen, and I'm not going to say anything else about that. After that, we are following the daughter of a governor in one of the islands that the Emperor owns, and her name is Falu. I believe that's how you pronounce it. Now she mostly is being trained to be the governor after her father dies as well, but she's also really good at being a soldier. She fights with a sword. She is basically a knife wife. She's not married, but her girlfriend is named Renami, and we do follow Renami, but she is the person I will not be telling you anything about, because if I were to tell you stuff about her perspective at all, it would spoil lots of things for other perspectives. Falu has proposed to her girlfriend multiple times, and her girlfriend keeps saying no, and she's not really sure why her girlfriend is saying no. She doesn't understand the idea that the royalty in her land is at such a greater living ability than the poor people in her land. She thinks that poverty is bad, yes, but really it's being taken care of by the government, and she's starting to have her eyes open to the fact that poverty really isn't how she thought it was, and that the people are actually a lot worse off than she originally thought. The final character that we are following is named Sand, and it is told pretty early on that Sand is not actually her name, but we do not know her real name because she also has lost all of her memory. Yet we do not know how she's lost her memory. Sand is my personal favorite character. I really enjoy her chapters, even though we only get like one every 10 chapters, and when we do get one, they're very, very short because she is stuck on this island, and all she knows is that every single day she needs to fill a basket with mangoes. And she has no other memory, no other ambitions, nothing that's going on. And she starts to wonder, is this weird? And as soon as she starts to think those things, her brain kind of goes foggy, and then all of a sudden, all she's thinking about is she needs to fill this basket with mangoes. And it's really interesting because it's almost like she's like stuck out of time, because every once in a while she'll get this like flashback of some past memory, and then 2 paragraphs later she doesn't even remember the flashback that just happened. And it's so interesting, and I just want to know more about her, honestly. She is fantastic, but I can't tell you anything else about her because I don't know anything else about her, and I'm at the 50% mark, so please give me more Sand. So the story kind of starts off with one of the islands in the Emperor's control sinks, and we're trying to figure out how it sunk, what's going on. All the different characters are responding to it based on the political and the economic means of what happens when a whole entire island sinks. I mean, there's certain things that the whole entire country will no longer have access to because of this. We're following all these characters kind of delving into their plots more and more. I am enjoying the book. When I'm reading it, I'm enjoying it, but as soon as I set it down, I just don't feel myself getting a pull to pick it back up again. If I had to stop and rate the book right now, it would be a 3.5 out of 5 star, which is not fair because I've only read half of the book. But I am going to try to sit down right now and read at least 30% of the book so that maybe any kind of stalling that I'm doing on my part will be told whether or not it's me stalling on the book or if the book is actually just kind of slow for my taste. I'd really love to finish it, but I think that might be too ambitious for me. The book is about 500 pages, but I am going to be picking it up right now. I'm reading it on my iPad because it is a digital copy, and I guess I'll just be coming and talking to you guys non-spoilery whenever something happens that I want to talk about. One thing I did forget to mention when I was doing the summary of this book is that it is an own voices story. So the whole entire world takes place in a land that is inspired by Eastern Asian, specifically Chinese culture, and the author herself, Andrea Stewart, is from, I believe she is of Chinese descent. I believe, if I read correctly online, that her parents were immigrants and she has grown up in the USA. It is something to keep in mind when looking to whether or not you want to read this book, that it does have some great representation, not only in the Eastern Asian aspect of the culture, but also an LGBT plus representation. There are definitely more than just the main 2 POVs who are in a sapphic relationship. There isn't just like, oh, there's the one and then it's done. There are other references and other couples who fall into that category as well. No more stalling. I'm going back to reading. Guess what? I got to another Sand chapter. I looked ahead and I only have this one and then 2 more, so I'm kind of nervous and a little scared and slightly disappointed. So something big just happened. I like felt like I understood where Lynn's chapters were going, but like, big plot twist. Anyways, I'm at the 60% mark, so I'm gonna go do some more reading now. I was falling asleep, so I thought coming outside, getting some fresh air, and reading would be helpful, but apparently I'm just really tired. So I'm gonna go in and make some tea, but there were a few things about the story I wanted to tell you before I moved on, because I'm dumb and forgot to tell you them earlier. So one of the main things that's really important about this story is that the bone shards that the Emperor takes from the people is mandatory. Everyone has to give one in if they live in the Empire. And the process of taking them not only kills 1 in 25 people, but also as soon as he takes your bone shard and puts it into a construct and starts using that construct, you start deteriorating. So they say that it doesn't start right away, but as like a few years goes on, you start getting really sick, you start being able to not move, not function, and very quickly you die after that. Not only is the Empire killing off his people, but he's doing it for a reason. So a long time ago, there was these people called the Alanga, and they attacked and they basically almost destroyed, and it seems that they had some type of magical ability that is almost equivalent to myths and legends of what we tell today, such as they could control the elements. It's grown so big that people don't even know what's true and what's false, and they were cast out by the Emperor's great-great-great-grand whatever, and that is how he claims to the people that he needs to collect their shards still, is that, hey, we cast these people out, they might be back one day, so I need to take your shards so that I can still control the constructs, and therefore keep you safe if they ever come back and attack again. But of course there is a rebellion starting because not all the people are feeling the same way that this long lost enemy is ever going to come back and fight them again. So it's really interesting because you're getting to see both sides throughout all of the different POVs, and you're also getting to see some other sides because of course in any conflict there really isn't just two sides, there isn't just black and white, there's all areas in between, and you're getting to see some people kind of decide that the rebellion isn't necessarily the right choice either. I'm fascinated by it. Some other big twists have happened since I last talked to you guys, but I can't tell you any of those because they are major spoilers. But I am really curious about one of the POVs that I am currently reading, and I want to get back to it now. Oh hey, hello, I'm back once again. Just ignore my wrist, I heard it earlier and I need to hold it up. Here, I'll try to hold it up outside of shot. 90% done with the book, and I can tell you one thing for certain right now. I'm ready for the book to be finished. I'm not disliking it, I'm just... That feeling I was having earlier today when I was at the 50% mark where like nothing is pulling me into the story is still true. And I don't know if it's the book or if it's the combination of me and the book together, but I know it's not me anymore. So I've been pushing myself for 40%, kind of feeling like nothing's happening, nothing's happening, nothing's happening. I'm still not done with the book, and I'm still kind of feeling this way. The stakes aren't real, and there's not a ton happening in the plot, and two of the characters are getting a lot more page time than the other three characters, and their stories are kind of the boringest to me. All of that said, I still really enjoy a lot of what we're seeing, including the characters who are getting like all this screen time who I'm calling boring. I'm enjoying their chapters. I just feel like, okay, I've got the gist of them, let's move on. I think where this is coming from is I would call this story a character-driven story, and I tend not to be the biggest fan of stories that are character-driven. The story is less about a plot happening and more about these 5 people realizing who they truly are and realizing what they can really do with their lives. And so I think that's what's holding me back the most from it. Guess who finished their book? That's right, the answer is always me. Well, that's not true, I DNF a lot of books. But tonight the answer is me. I haven't compiled it yet, but I can already tell you what I'm going to rate the book. 3.5 out of 5 stars. It had a lot of pluses for me and it had some meh moments for me. There really wasn't anything that was bad, but there were a few things that were just kind of like meh. For instance, the writing, of course this is a debut novel, writing will get better. I would definitely read something else written by this author because if this is her debut, then I know she's just going to get even better. But I do think that the writing could have been a little bit better. The plot was kind of just the same overall. I didn't feel like it had highs and lows. Besides a few select moments, there would be like a few paragraphs throughout that would be like really full of action or really high. But other than that, everything just kind of felt sameness. There were some elements of the magic system that I felt like we could have delved into a little bit more. I really enjoy magic systems that aren't totally explained straight out to you, so I was enjoying it a lot, but a lot of this was left to you finding out a lot of answers in later books, which is totally fine, but I would have liked just a little bit more understanding of what was going on. So those are my only meh moments, honestly. The positives, the magic system was wonderful. The world building was great. I felt like I could really see and exist in this world. It was grand, it was wonderful. There were so many different places. It felt so real. The characters were really enjoyable, really different. All of them had backgrounds, motivations, wants, needs. Whether or not they got those is up to you reading the book. I really, really enjoyed how they seem to slowly start interacting with each other because their lives cross over with each other, and it was really fun watching that happen. I think that the writing, even though I did say it was simple, was easy and obtainable and that it wouldn't be hard for anyone to read. I think that it would be very easily accessible for a lot of different age ranges. I know that this book is said to be an adult fantasy, but I think that that is really because the romance in this book is pretty much non-existent, even though we do have the two main POVs from a couple that are in a relationship together. The romance is just kind of not there. It's like they're in a relationship, we don't see it build, but yet you can believe that they're in a relationship, which I liked. I don't like when the story is bogged down by pointless romance, so that was a plus for me. But I think that that is why people called it an adult book, is because there was kind of a lack of romance. But I think that this was a book that even teenagers would enjoy reading. There were a few darker moments, but nothing like extremely dark that I would say a teenager shouldn't read. Honestly, I think that anyone 13 and up could enjoy this book. Although I'm not the best person to judge that, because apparently I say that 13-year-olds can do a lot of stuff that they're not actually allowed to do. Well, that's all from me. If you take in all of the comments that I said earlier and the comments I said just now, that all leads up to a 3.5. I would recommend checking out this book. I think that the only content warning that was really in it was there is physical abuse. It doesn't happen on page and it doesn't happen to any of our characters, but there are some moments where you think it's going to happen on page, and there are some moments where our characters are dealing with a close friend or significant others of theirs having physical abuse done to them, and they're dealing with the aftermath. So if that's something that bothers you, just take that into consideration. Of course, everyone has different trigger warnings, but that is the main one that I saw that I know can trigger a lot of different people. I recommend checking this book out if you're interested in it, and if you want to try another adult fantasy with low romance that has Asian influence in the culture. So let me know if you've decided to pick up this book because of watching this video. I hope you do, because honestly, even though I only rated it a 3.5, 3.5 is a good rating. I enjoyed myself reading it, and I am so thankful to NetGalley and Orbit for giving me the opportunity to read this book before it got published. Let me know if you've read this book. I would love to talk to you about it down below. I don't remember how my outro goes, but until next time, I'll talk to you all in the comments. Bye.